The FAA is done. Starship's second flight investigation closed. What happened? Is the way clear for IFT-3? Ship 28 conducts a spin prime. What is next? Another Dragon will visit the ISS soon, and Rocket Lab releases a massive Electron and Neutron update. My name is Felix, welcome to What About It. Let's dive right in. Starship updates. SpaceX just completed a massive step in obtaining the launch license. Things are picking up momentum. Want to know what exactly this means? Follow me. The contrast between Starship's first and second flight was striking. So much has improved between these two launches. For a second it even looked like everything would go perfectly on the second try. And yet, despite achieving several key objectives during the second integrated flight test, both rocket stages ultimately met a catastrophic end. It's important to note that under an experimental launch license, any deviation from the FAA pre-approved flight plan automatically triggers an investigation. You can't skip this step. However, there is a widespread misconception about who actually conducts these investigations. Contrary to what some might think, SpaceX itself leads the mishap investigation for Starship. The company is responsible for gathering evidence and developing a hypothesis to explain the outcome of the launch. The FAA's role is to review SpaceX's findings and then either agree with the conclusions and close the investigation or demand them to dig deeper to pinpoint the root cause. Closing such an investigation is a big deal, as it is required to obtain future launch licenses. This is why mishap investigations are a top priority for the launch provider after a launch goes south. On February 26th, the FAA officially concluded the investigation into Starship's second flight based on SpaceX's detailed analysis. So the FAA is happy with SpaceX's analysis. In return, this closure gives us some official theories about what went wrong. Let's focus on the Super Heavy booster first. SpaceX's investigation pinpointed the attempted boost back burn as the beginning of the complications. This maneuver was supposed to allow Super Heavy to return to a designated landing area, which for this flight was the Gulf of Mexico. However, the boost back quickly got out of control. Some engines failed to ignite while others shut down prematurely. Then parts began to detach from the aft section and suddenly Super Heavy turned into a massive fireball. But why? Was it the flight termination system? Here's the twist, not necessarily. The team found out that an engine explosion was the direct cause of the booster failure. Now you might be wondering why a Raptor would blow up. Weren't they supposed to be reliable? Yes, but there is one thing an engine can't beat: combustion instability. Raptors operate on liquid methane as a fuel and liquid oxygen as an oxidizer. For thrust to be generated safely without risking engine failure, a precise fuel-to-oxidizer ratio of 3.6 to 1 must be maintained at all times. Even a small deviation from this ratio can quickly escalate to catastrophic events, aka Big Bada Boom. In the best case scenario, the engine might simply shut down and refuse to work. In the worst case, an imbalance can lead to overheating, culminating in the engine consuming itself and exploding. Engine-rich exhaust, not what you want to see on a flying booster. SpaceX found that during the boost-back maneuver there was a pressure drop in the oxidizer turbopump, disrupting the fuel-to-oxidizer balance, resulting in an explosion. The cause of this pressure drop? A filter blockage at the oxygen intake to the engine. This is where the official explanation ends and we enter the speculative territory. A filter blockage might result from foreign object debris, or FOD, which is fancy speak for something that doesn't belong there. This could be literally anything, such as a tool left behind or a rock that somehow made its way inside the tank. Although rigorous pre-launch inspections are conducted to prevent FOD, no one's perfect. Someone could have missed something. Another possibility is that the filter was blocked by something that was originally a part of the rocket itself. That is my favorite theory. We suspect that during the boost back, propellant slosh caused some issues. Perhaps the force with which the oxidizer hit the slosh baffles installed inside the tanks managed to dislodge one, blocking the filter in return. What do you think? Does this sound plausible to you? Please let me know in the comments. Interestingly, SpaceX's statement did not address whether the flight termination system on the booster was activated. Previous updates hinted at this possibility, but the recent findings suggest that this time we saw a genuine rapid unscheduled disassembly triggered by the engine explosion. Hopefully we won't see more rods in the future. As a result of the investigation, 7 corrective actions were pinpointed for the booster. It includes modifications to the tank filtration system and measures to minimize sloshing. This might confirm our suspicions that the welding marks observed on Booster 10's liquid oxygen tank were indeed related to the addition of extra anti-slosh baffles. SpaceX may also consider adjusting the boost back maneuver itself, possibly to make it slightly less aggressive. So much for the booster. Turning our attention to the ship, the sequence of events leading to its failure is quite an interesting one. Despite a promising start to the Starship's upper stage flight, all 6 engines unexpectedly shut down, leading to an FTS trigger and the vehicle's destruction. Elon Musk has previously disclosed that the second flight carried more propellant than necessary for the intended flight profile. This was done to simulate how Starship would react to real payload on board. However, for safety purposes, there is a limit to the maximum amount of propellant remaining upon ship splashdown. Although the likelihood of Ship 25 successfully re-entering and achieving splashdown was slim, if it did, this propellant would turn it into a massive bomb. To mitigate this, a decision was made to vent the surplus liquid oxygen before engine shutdown. Unfortunately, this procedure created a leak in the aft section, sparking an onboard fire that destroyed the data link between the flight computers. This deviation from the planned flight profile led to the automatic activation of the flight termination system, rupturing the rocket's tanks. This incident reminds me of the loss of Booster 7, where an onboard fire similarly severed engine communication with the flight computers. In light of these findings, SpaceX has identified 10 additional corrective measures to be addressed before the third flight can proceed. Some of these changes aim to enhance the ship's reliability by eliminating all possible leak sources. One update is the introduction of 3 new pipes in the aft section of the ship, speculated to offer a way to get rid of oxygen if necessary. Another interesting point is the planned elimination of pre-second engine cutoff propellant dumps. This phrasing raises some eyebrows. It could imply a general strategy for all future missions, yet the specific mention of a second engine cutoff hints at the possibility of the third Starship reaching true orbit. This definitely wasn't in the second flight plan. Finally, a significant technological shift for Ship 28 involves transitioning from a hydraulic to an electric thrust vector control or TVC system. Believe it or not, Ship 25 used in the second flight still operated with a hydraulic power unit relying on pistons for engine gimbaling. The upcoming flight will see both the ship and the booster equipped with electric actuators. These not only promise greater reliability, but also remove another potential source of fire, as most hydraulic fluids are flammable. These changes were sufficient for the FAA to mark the investigation as concluded. Well done, SpaceX! However, it is important to note that a positive investigation outcome doesn't automatically grant SpaceX the license for the upcoming flight. Did you know that the next step towards securing that license involves conducting a full dress rehearsal, an event that could be very close? Just a few days back, as discussed in our previous update, Ship 28 made its way to Pad B, while Booster 10 was returned to Mega Bay for further work. The anticipation was high for a static fire test to let the Raptors roar one last time before the launch. However, things took an unexpected turn. On February 26th, the road at Starbase was finally closed, signaling that testing activity was around the corner. Shortly after, liquid oxygen began flowing into Ship 28's LOX tank. Several dozen minutes later, plumes of white vapor began escaping from the ship's skirt. That was the spin prime test. This process involves using a small amount of propellant to spin the Raptor turbopumps, ensuring they operate correctly. Typically, a static fire test would follow a few days after this procedure. Yet in an interesting plot twist, a ship transport stand and the LR-11000 crane made their way to Pad B, suggesting that the static fire wasn't on the table anymore. Literally. Instead, it appears that Ship 28 will be moved and stacked on top of Booster 10. Speaking of, the issues this prototype faced seem to have been minor. After a brief 8-day stay in the Mega Bay, the booster was transported back to the launch site in the early hours of February 28th, as captured by our photographer John. If I had to guess, we should see a fully stacked Starship even before this video airs, followed by a full wet dress rehearsal. Then the FAA would have all the necessary data to issue a launch license. Right now, I'd say that we are around 2 weeks away from a launch if everything works out. But Felix, shouldn't they take things slower? Not if your goal is to launch 9 more Starships this year. Yes, you heard correctly. SpaceX is discussing with the FAA the possibility of launching 9 Starships in 2024. There are a few issues, however. Firstly, the rapid iteration of Starship designs presents a regulatory issue. Each new Starship version introduces hundreds of modifications from its predecessor. Under the current regulations, obtaining a single license for a vehicle that undergoes so many changes between flights is not feasible. Moreover, the existing environmental assessment permits a maximum of 5 flights annually. To exceed this frequency, a new environmental impact statement could be required, a process that would take over a year to complete. You see where this is going? Then there is the launch infrastructure itself. Stage 0 isn't ready for rapid reusability yet. Although SpaceX constantly upgrades the launch site to support more frequent flights, achieving a monthly launch cadence could require some major upgrades. While the prospect of 9 Starship launches in 2024 is thrilling, you should lower your expectations. Still, even managing to conduct, let's say, 5 launches would be a massive increase from 2023. So what are your thoughts? How many Starship launches do you believe SpaceX will conduct in 2024, and does the FAA need a reform? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Now, you've watched more than half the video and you're still watching. Thank you, this means you like it. We've looked into our channel metrics and there are over 2 million returning monthly viewers who have not subscribed yet. Help us improve the channel even further by double checking that you've hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our updates. While you're at it, give us a like and become a wise supporter for exclusive SpaceX updates. With it, you get access to daily Starbase photo galleries, including satellite, aerial, and ground photos of SpaceX's progress, and countless other extras on top. And no matter how much you decide to give, everyone gets the same supporter content and access. You decide what you want to give. Check our new website as well. Launch previews, road closures, the latest weather report, and our multi-stream viewer, whataboutit.space. The link to our Patreon page and the new website is in the description. Thanks to all the supporters who help fulfill dreams for our team. We cannot thank you enough. You rock.
I've got an essential online safety tip I want to let all our viewers know about. When I'm in a coffee shop, I typically need to do some online banking, but public Wi-Fi? Risky, right? That's where today's sponsor, Surfshark VPN, steps in. Using Surfshark VPN, I can swap the virtual location of my device, meaning that my data becomes encrypted, shielding financial information on public Wi-Fi networks. Surfshark also offers antivirus protection, maintaining my device's integrity. Their alternative ID feature provides a new online identity for secure browsing, keeping my name and personal email safe from spam. I also receive identity protection alerts, notifying me of leaks. With Surfshark VPN, I can bank online confidently, no matter where I am. So, if you're like me, always on the go, give Surfshark VPN a shot. Safeguard what matters most. Secure your privacy with Surfshark. Enter coupon code Felix for an extra 3 months free at surfshark.deals/Felix or scan the QR code on screen now. Surfshark. Surf with your own set of rules. Now back to Felix with more space news.
Going back to the news, we begin with another crewed spaceflight. That's right, I'm talking about Crew 8. Following the success of the Axiom 3 private mission in January, SpaceX's Dragon is once again taking humans to the International Space Station. Unlike its predecessor, this mission is not privately funded. It's another installment in NASA's Commercial Crew Program, or CCP. This program has proven to be one of NASA's wisest investments, particularly looking at SpaceX's side of the deal. Let's not talk about that other capsule right now. The crew for this mission consists mostly of individuals new to space. Leading the team as spacecraft commander is Matthew Dominic, who before his 2017 induction into NASA served as a Navy commander. This mission marks his inaugural journey into space, offering him his first taste of spaceflight. Serving as the mission pilot is spaceflight veteran Michael Barrett, who has already logged 211 days in orbit, including 2 spacewalks. Notably, he was a crew member of STS-133, the final mission of the Space Shuttle Discovery. This mission is his 4th voyage to space. Next is Jeanette Epps, one of the 2 mission specialists who joined NASA with a PhD in aerospace engineering. She was initially slated to join Expedition 56 to the ISS in 2018, but was replaced just before launch for undisclosed reasons. This mission provides her with the long-awaited opportunity to fulfill her dream of spaceflight. Bon voyage! The second mission specialist slot is filled by Alexander Grebenkin as part of a collaborative agreement between NASA and Roscosmos to include at least one member from the other's agency on their flights. Grebenkin, who has a background in the Russian Air Force before joining the Cosmonaut Corps, is making his first trip to space. Besides the crew, the mission will transport cargo and supplies to the ISS, including various experiments. Their stay aboard the station will be quite eventful. Not only are they expected to welcome the astronauts from the Starliner crewed flight test, but also the newest resupply capsule from Sierra Space, the Dream Chaser. With their launch scheduled for March 1st, Crew 8 should be en route to the ISS by the time you're watching this episode. Now, space is mostly about building and launching satellites. One constantly growing player in this industry is Rocket Lab. Let's take a look at what they've been up to. As a publicly traded company, they provide quarterly investor updates, which are always filled to the brim with information regarding their future plans. This time is no exception. Let's begin with their main focus, the Electron rocket. In 2023, Rocket Lab launched 10 times, surpassing the previous record of 9 launches set the year before. The company has maintained this momentum into the current year, with 2 launches already completed and 2 more planned for March. Given a launch failure last September which slowed them down for 2 months, I wouldn't be surprised if they will aim for 15 or more Electron missions this year. They definitely have a lot of payloads to launch, as in 2023 alone they secured contracts for 25 missions, 18 for Electron and 3 for their suborbital vehicle HASTE. It's basically Electron with a modified kick stage. The main focus for their rocket in 2024 will definitely be reusability. Rocket Lab has already demonstrated this capability by reflying a Rutherford engine that was previously in space. Now they plan to launch an Electron powered entirely by 9 reused engines. This mission could happen really soon. The ultimate goal is to reuse an entire booster. The one recovered at the end of January is reportedly in such excellent conditions that Rocket Lab is considering launching it again. However, Electron is just the beginning. Peter has some big plans cooked up in New Zealand. Behind the scenes, the company is also developing its medium-lift rocket, Neutron. Announced in 2021, Neutron wants to compete with SpaceX's Falcon. In 2023, the company showcased significant progress, producing parts for fuel tanks and successfully completing a cryogenic test for the second stage tank. According to the presentation, Peter Beck's company is already producing actual flight hardware. The booster's tank production line is nearing completion, and moreover, the flight-capable version of the second stage is almost ready. It will undergo extensive testing throughout the year. Additionally, one of Neutron's most innovative features, the reusable Hippo fairing, along with the entire interstage, is expected to be ready by the second quarter of 2024. Finally, the Archimedes engine, which powers the rocket, saw its pre-burner tested with the engines for the inaugural flight already in production. Given Neutron's larger dimensions, Rocket Lab is building a brand new launch pad, LC-3, at NASA's Wallops Flight Facility, busy as a bee. Foundation work has begun, focusing primarily on essential infrastructure such as water tower, propellant, and gas storage. Ground support equipment tanks are anticipated to arrive by the end of the third quarter, with the pad projected to be fully operational by the end of November. Originally, Neutron was scheduled to launch in 2024. While the company remains optimistic about meeting this timeline, realistically they don't even have a single fully assembled engine yet. It will be a miracle if the rocket makes it to the pad before the end of this year, though I'd love to be proven wrong. Now, some people may not know this, but a significant chunk of Rocket Lab's revenue actually comes from satellite manufacturing. The company recently scored an insane contract to build 18 satellites for the Space Development Agency, a deal worth a whopping $515 million. They're also working on a constellation of 17 spacecraft for Globalstar, designed to provide voice and internet connectivity around the world. Most of their satellites are utilizing a photon bus, an advanced kick stage that doubles as a power and communication platform for customer payloads. A very capable small spacecraft. Photon played a crucial role in NASA's first Artemis mission, known as Capstone, and also was the base for Varda's pharmaceutical manufacturing capsule. Additionally, 2 Photons are slated for NASA's Escapade mission, aimed at exploring Mars later this year. Despite having widely different goals and designs, all these satellites can basically be called a photon, which can cause some confusion.
Those 2 are unlike any spacecraft we've ever built before. So we decided to call these, Photon.
This is why Rocket Lab decided to introduce a new naming scheme. Under the new classification, Photon will continue to support smaller satellites launched aboard Electron. Pioneer can be used for missions that require the capability to return payloads to Earth. They can also be launched on different rockets, for example Falcon 9. Explorer is designated for long-duration missions to other planets. At the same time, Lightning represents the largest class, recommended for communication and imaging satellites that will stay in space for years, potentially more than a decade. It is great to see they finally did something with the naming. I cannot wait to see what else Rocket Lab will surprise us with in 2024. So far, aside from Firefly, it's the only small satellite launch company that can continue to grow, hopefully one day becoming the second SpaceX. That's it for today. Remember to smash that like button, subscribe for more awesome content. This is what fuels the algorithm and helps us immensely. Check out our epic shirts in your favorite Space Nerd store. The link is in the description. And if you want to train your space IQ even further, watch this video next to continue your journey. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next episode. I knew. I have a hypothesis. The whoa. Algorithm sparking. Yeah, you're sparking.